Guys, so today we're going to look at the evaporating technique. So I have a solution here. Okay, so my solute has fully dissolved in my solvent, so there's no sign of it there. Okay, so I'm using salt and water today. Now I could have done a mixture as well. If I used rock salt that didn't dissolve, okay, I could have used that as well. But I just wanted to show, because I think it's kind of a little bit more impressive when we see something that's fully dissolved kind of get separated again. Okay, so I have my evaporating dish, my solution inside my evaporating dish, I have my tripod and my wire gauze. Okay, so I have turned on my Bunsen burner, and now I'm going to open the window of my Bunsen burner so that my flame turns blue. Okay, so that's how we said we turn on our Bunsen burner. Okay. And then I'm going to heat my solution here in the evaporating dish on top of the Bunsen burner. Okay, so we use a wire gauze. Okay, one, it's holding my evaporating dish, but also it spreads out the heat. Okay, so let's have a look. So what are we expecting to happen to our solution when it's heated? Okay, well, the water, the solvent, we expect will heat up, it will turn to gas, it will evaporate. Okay, and it will leave then my solute, the solid that has dissolved, behind. Okay. So let's see if I can set this up in some way where it continues to watch it. Oh, that looks kind of cool from underneath. You'd never really see that on a normal day because you'd never really have a reason to be looking at it at that angle. Okay, so we're just waiting for our solution to heat up and separate. Okay, so while we're waiting for that, okay, you need to have this diagram drawn for your evaporating separating technique. So again, we have our Bunsen burner, our tripod, a wire gauze, our evaporating dish, and our solution inside our evaporating dish. Okay, so it's probably easiest to see at that angle. Okay, so we'll get the white behind. There we go. Okay, so what would our safety precautions for this experiment be? So like in all experiments, we would tie our hair back. Okay, we'd make sure our sleeves weren't baggy or might catch anything. Okay, we're working with very hot substances, so you can see how hot our flame is. We said the blue flame is hotter than our orange flame when we were looking at that in scientific method, when we were looking at lighting the Bunsen burner. Okay, so that probably explains why when it's hitting this colder object up here, why it's turning orange. It's cooling down a little bit. Okay, so that actually looks really cool. Okay, so we can see as it's evaporating, so I actually put quite a bit of salt in this. The water is already actually leaving salt up around the outside. Okay, so all this white part here around the outsides, okay, it's actually already separating from the salt. So there has been water evaporating, okay, that we haven't noticed. Okay, so the level of the water has gone down since it started, and it's been leaving salt behind. Okay. Okay, so just an update. It's been a few minutes now. We can see a lot more salt starting to gather. Okay. So we can see much more salt around the outsides. Okay, so obviously the water temperature has gone down from here, and it's been leaving salt behind it the whole time while it's evaporating off. Okay, so I turned on the lights. I thought maybe that might help us see any water that's evaporating. I can see it in person, but it's not really catching the best on the cameras. Okay, but we know that it's been evaporating because it's been disappearing. Okay, so when we see, well, it's not disappearing, sorry. Okay, we're losing the water, but it's not disappearing, it's just becoming a gas, so it's around us in the air. Okay, so that's kind of one of the things we don't really love about evaporating. Okay, so using evaporation as a separating technique is really good if we want to collect our solute, okay, but we do lose our solvent. Okay, so we can collect our solute, so the salt here, but we do lose our solvent, so the water. We're losing that really because it's not going to be left in the dish, it's in the air around us, so we haven't collected it anywhere. Okay, so that kind of is going to be what brings us on to our next separating technique, distillation. What would happen if we had this same solution, okay, but instead of losing the water, what if we really wanted to collect it? Okay, so that's what we'll use distillation for in our next video. Okay, so I will leave it again, maybe another 60 seconds, and then come back to you. So another 60 seconds later, we can see the water is starting to evaporate much quicker, so it's obviously a lot hotter than it was originally. Okay, so the level of the water has gone down significantly, and we can see the amount of salt being left the whole way through. Okay, so all of our solute is being collected here. Okay, and all the water again is disappearing. So that is my progress. Okay, here's another quick look at our progress. So another minute has passed. Okay, so we're seeing again more of our salt being left behind. Okay. Okay, so I'm actually just going to move, because there's quite a small amount of water left, I'm actually just going to move my Bunsen burner away because I don't want to end up with absolutely no solution in the evaporating flask. Okay, so for safety, when I move my Bunsen burner away, I want the flame to be orange so it's easier to see. Okay, and now let's have a look in here. So we can see a load of our solute has been left around the sides, and our mixture at the bottom, we can see a lot of salt left there as well. Okay, so I'm going to just leave that another minute just to see how much of our solvent evaporates off by itself. Okay, and then we might put the Bunsen burner underneath it again. Okay, so it looks like enough of the water has evaporated off. It's still extremely hot, so I can see that it's still a little bit damp, but I'm sure that water is going to evaporate off by itself. So I'm just going to leave it now for like 5 minutes without the Bunsen burner on, and then by that time the water will most likely have evaporated off completely, and the solute will be cold enough that I can pick it up and show you guys. Okay, so I have left this cool now. It's cool enough to touch. Okay, and we can see all my salt that's left. Okay, so perhaps I left a little bit of solution in there, but even around the edges we can see it's all our salt left. Okay, so if I was to heat this up a little bit more, okay, it would be completely dry salt that we could literally put on our food. Okay. Now it's important in this experiment that we wear safety goggles, and you can see some salt has splashed out. Okay, so you can see that really nicely now that it's cooled. Okay, so it is really important that we wear safety goggles in this experiment as well.